Hello, students. How are you? I am happy that it's a brand new week and we are now in Module 2 and we'll be here for the next 2 weeks. Um, what I wanted to just say off the bat is I've really appreciated the introductions that you all had. I've learned so much about you all. I know it's overwhelming because there's so many of you, and so at some point we'll get a little bit more tight knit. But I know for many of you, you open up your D2L and you see like 190 messages unread, and that could be overwhelming. And I feel you because I'm the same way. So one of the things I advise you to do is mark all your messages as read. And if there's discussion in your teams that don't have anything to do with the modules, I know a lot of you discussed the roles and the tasks in some of your modules. I would recommend that you would delete those. That way you have more room and just focus on the discussion at hand. So just a couple of tips just to make it a little bit more manageable for you all. But I was very happy and pleased to see everyone sharing and love the pictures of the pets and the kids, and that was really nice. That was a treat. Um, so in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about student development and what does student development mean? What is it do for our profession? And the three words that I think of when I think about development are change, which is maybe positive, maybe negative, and progressive or regressive. I think about growth as an expansion, but it could also be, negative or positive in its the kind of in its functionality. And I also think about development in the term as it's termed as a positive way. So so theory is really used to describe, explain, predict, or and control student development. In other words, I think student development theory can help you better understand, support, and serve students. However, in your readings, you'll learn that you use caution when referring to certain student development theories. Students are individuals, and theory is simply a guide. It's not necessarily the how-to. It's merely a guide to help you sort of think things through. And it isn't applicable for all students in all contexts and all environments. When we think about how student development derived, it was primarily derived in a context that was mostly in an era where colleges were mainly consisted of white men. And so a lot of this research is based off the experiences of white men. And the other point of view that we need to look at is the perspectives in which the researchers have. And so we call this their worldview or their paradigms. And so we think about critical paradigms or cultural paradigms in terms of how we view the world. And these are sort of our lenses, the lenses in which we look at the world. And so all of us have these lenses. And so we have to think about, how did we get these lenses? How did we, how are lenses shaped by the contexts and the environments in which we all grew up in? So when I think about my own experiences, I think about the fact that I am very much influenced by the fact that I am an immigrant child. I'm a child of immigrants. I came to the United States at the age of 6. I understand being in a classroom of English speakers and being the only Spanish speaker. And I also grew up in a context where there wasn't a lot of Latino representation. And so that helped shape my identity and who I am. I also am cognizant of the fact that I am very light skinned, I have light eyes, and I consider myself a Mexican American and or Chicana. And so when I walk into the room, there's not necessarily this perception that that's what people view me as. People may view me as a female, that I'm light skin colored, but they may also make their own perceptions or assumptions about me depending on their own lenses. And so we have to understand that our lenses are very much influenced by our backgrounds, how we grew up, our parents' influence, our schooling, the media. And so acknowledging that oftentimes we haven't really thought critically about our lenses in a while helps us to develop and grow and change in this process. And so understanding that these researchers that we'll be reading about have worldviews and understanding they come from a different context is important. And when we look at these theories, and understanding that in order for us to move forward and push theory, we have to continually ask ourselves, how does race matter? How does ethnicity matter? How does socioeconomic status matter? How does gender matter? Ability matters, and all these other identities within the context of theories. How does it all matter within the context? And so we'll be discussing pretty much three types of theories. One is a psychosocial theory, which deals with the interpersonal and identity development of students, including how students define themselves, their relationships with others, and what they want to do with their lives. The other types of theories are the cognitive structural ones, and those are more that illuminates changes in which people think and make decisions. They examine how both intellectual and moral development. And then the typology is the third one. It examines individual differences in how people view and relate to the world. So typologies are not developmental. They are used simply to observe innate individual differences. Like if you ever heard of the Myers-Briggs typology. I am an ENFJ. That's the acronyms that we use to type as a certain typology for different people in terms of how they relate to the world. So if you've ever taken a Myers-Briggs exam, if you want to look it up online, you can kind of take a little look about what that kind of typology means. So I will be checking in on a weekly basis via YouTube. So you can expect a video from me. I will also be kind of chatting a little bit, just kind of reading your post. I like to wait and get the discussion going, and then I'm going to jump in. So I'm going to try to get to all the groups by the end of the week. But if you have any more questions, feel free to jump in on the questions and concerns on the D2L site. But other than that, I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.